Democratic National Committee official Lindy Lee called Vice President Harris's bid for the White House a $1 billion disaster following her loss to President-elect Trump in the 2024 election. The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster, Lee, a DNC National Finance Committee member, said during her Saturday morning appearance on Fox and Friends Weekend. They're 20 million or 18 million in debt. It's incredible, and I raised millions of that. I have friends I have to be accountable to and explain what happened because I told them it was a margin of error race, she added. The strategist said that Harris's campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, promised all of us that Harris would win. She even put videos out saying Harris would win, Lee said on Saturday. I believed her. My donors believed her. And so they wrote massive checks. I just feel like a lot of us were misled. Following Trump's runaway triumph in the contest on Wednesday, Democrats started to clash over the strategy the party employed and who should be blamed for the election's outcome. Some argued that the party did not move to the left enough to satisfy the base, while centrists argued the party moved too far left and spooked away the more moderate backers in the swing states. Harris lost all 7 battleground states. Some within the party have said that Democrats should restart and begin focusing more messaging and to better assess the temperature of the electorate. Lee said that even on the night of the election, she heard Democrats express confidence in Harris' hopes to win the election, something Lee herself did not fully understand. I asked them, are you privy to internal numbers that I am not seeing? Because I studied this so carefully, and I just wasn't seeing any basis for that level of confidence. Yeah, people did go overconfident. Um, it's really a shame, right, that we have a system, thanks to Citizens United and the idea that money is the same as someone's ability to speak or money is free speech, that causes our politicians to cater to a small group of wealthy people over regular human beings. And it's so crazy. It's just like, think about this. You're supposed to have a system where people are elected to represent a majority of the population. But then in most cases, they're only even able to run to supposedly represent a majority of us through a number of donations from a small number of us. Like at the same time, and I went over this before, that Harris was asking people to give her $5, $10, $27. She was recording a video with a $60,000 necklace on. Like, I'm not kidding. The gap between regular people and the politicians and their donors is astronomical. And I've said before, a lot of times I get so frustrated with voters because I know a lot of them don't know this. I know that some of them, they talk about, this donor, or they love bringing up Soros if they're, Republican or I guess conservative leaning. But the truth is that there needs to be a reform of the system. Again, addressing Citizens United, that allows for these ridiculously expensive campaigns to be a thing of the past. Because who in the world was benefited by $1 billion going into the Harris campaign? Like, whether she won or not, it's ridiculous that you would even see people willing to spend that amount of money just for a political race. The public financing of elections should be enough, or rather should suffice, and it would if we didn't have the screwed up system that we do. And ironically enough, when they talk about, the far left, and maybe that's why Harris didn't win because she didn't go far left, it's like, well, maybe you should also consider that there were a lot of, it's like this. Harris was afraid to support a ceasefire in Gaza because she didn't want to piss off her Israel government-loving donors. But if your decision to kind of try to stay in the middle to please both sides puts you at odds with a very significant portion of the electorate in the swing states, and you don't want to upset the other side because they might stop donating to your crappy campaign, maybe again, if you're not getting the irony of, were I to not care so much about these millions of dollars of donations and care more about the people and how they might vote, then maybe I would have won the election, or at least had a better shot of winning the election than trying to play to both sides and pleasing nobody and delivering the result that we received. But no, this comment is true. That campaign was a complete waste of money. Even if Harris had managed to squeeze out a victory, which I think would have been possible. She didn't lose by some ridiculous, giant, enormous margin, in terms of votes, right? In a lot of these states, it's all hit or miss. But even if she did manage to win, money in politics is one of the worst things to have happened to the electoral system, because your opinion on the matter, your ability to access the candidates, to really play a role in this stuff, is not having to do with whether you're a voter who has influence in terms of being well liked by your community, holding some statewide position, or being some organizer. It all has to do with how many dollar bills you can stick in the pocket of one of these empty suits and expect to receive goods on your transaction, in the event that the person you gave money to happens to win the election and fool enough people into thinking they're actually going to do something for them. And it's a problem that plagues both parties. Unfortunately, the Democrats are going to keep learning the wrong lessons. And really, they, as a party, like I've said before, they're the biggest sample of this. You had Biden, who, when he was when he was senator, right? 27,000 is his net worth. Somehow, after being vice president and retiring, he eventually ends up having millions and millions of dollars in net worth because of giving all those paid speeches. Same thing with the Clintons with their 40 million, and the Obamas with their 100 million, and Pelosi with her 100 million. This is another reason why I say most of these politicians, there's a few, but most of them are in this to enrich themselves and to further their own financial concerns as opposed to yours. So every lawmaker you see with some prominent role, you can go and look at their net worth, and they're all at least a millionaire several times over. But you have to sit here and just keep going further and further to the bottom. And it's something that should unite the people to, rise up against it. But these politicians have been very successful in playing divide and conquer. And I just don't think we're ever going to get to a point where there's enough of a pushback on it, even if it is a disaster that continues to not benefit anyone whatsoever, except, again, the few people that play this game and do the whole empty suit thing.